right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co-host Jake Ellenbogen, and we are coming to you to preview our Rams matchup against the New York Jets this Sunday at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. Jake, it feels like it's been a long time since the Rams played, and it's been longer than usual because they played on Thursday Night Football, but it has been like a kind of an extended break, for us in the show because the Rams themselves got an extended break. So we're back into it. Sunday game. It's going to be an early game for our friends on the West Coast because it's a 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff time. So for all of you on the West Coast in LA and, wherever you are on the West Coast, it'll be a 10 a.m. game. That's crazy. I can't imagine watching football that early, but I think it'd be great.
I mean, I got a handle of that when I was in LA, and I was like, "Wait, football's on. The hell's going on?"
Right.
It's like a shock to the system, So
Well, I feel that people in Central Time, like myself, get the best deal because it's like noon. It's like 12 o'clock. You could sleep in on Sunday, do whatever you do on Sunday mornings. For me, it's like that's my laundry and day. Sometimes I go get groceries. I like try to get it done in the morning. And then I could sit down on the couch at noon and just enjoy football the rest of the day. And, um, I enjoy that. I like noon. So and I normally have to wait to watch the Rams. Obviously most people do till the second slate of games, but like we're first slate this Sunday.
yeah.
1 o'clock Eastern. So yeah, it'll be a nice little change up here for us Rams fans to watch them in the first slate of games. But Jake, going into MetLife, the Rams won't be the only ones at MetLife on Sunday. You will be there.
I have not missed a Rams MetLife game since they played. I want to say since they played on that Monday Night Football game against the Giants with the Danny Amendola dislocated elbow. I'm pretty sure that's the only MetLife game I haven't been to. I went to the 51-17 game against the Giants, the 38-22 game against the Giants, the 26-25 game against the Giants, the 9-6 game against the Jets, and now I'm going to this Jets game. So, we're undefeated when it comes to those games. Let's keep this thing going.
Well, you and I went to MetLife together
Yeah.
to watch them take on the Giants in 2021.
That was the one where we got up and Jalen Ramsey had another interception, and they were
Yep.
just stomping the crap out of
Yeah,
them.
they just stomped the Giants that day. It was a really fun day. And it was a nice day. It was a little cold, but it was pretty nice at MetLife that day too, so we couldn't complain about that October weather. I think that was October.
Yeah. How
So
cold
yeah,
was it that day? Was it like 40s, 50s?
I want to say it was like 50s because I had
Mm-hmm.
on a jersey, I had on a hoodie under the jersey, and I was like
Same.
fine, especially because there was like sun too. So it wasn't, I want to say it was like low 50s, maybe mid 50s, but yeah, that was a fun game. And Eli Manning was there. That was the game that they like,
That's
and I thought
right.
that was cool because I had never gotten to see him play in person, I
The
believe.
whole
And so
Giants Super Bowl team was there.
were they? I
Yeah.
don't remember. Okay, yeah, that's
They were
cool.
honoring Coughlin. I remember David Deal.
Yes,
Yeah,
you're
there was a
right.
lot of them. Yep.
Because I remember Coughlin was there. Yeah, and I had no idea going into that game. I don't know if any of us did because I feel like we were all sitting there and we're like, oh my God, like all of these like very successful Hall of Fame Giants are coming out at halftime.
That's normally not a good sign because the Rams did that for the 99 team when I was out there.
Yeah, and they had a different outcome.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
typically you don't want that to happen because you just lose. I don't know. It's never good.
Well, right. But yeah, that was a fun game. And
Yeah.
you know what? I'm hoping that the Rams can deliver the performance at MetLife this time that they did back in 2021 when we were there last or I was there last. You've been there since. I think the last game that you were at MetLife, was that Kyron? No, no, no. That wasn't.
Yes.
Was it
Yes.
the three
Yeah.
touchdown game?
Yep. 26,
Okay.
25. I watched his mom, like he threw the ball and then like his mom ripped the ball out of
Yeah.
this other fan's hands that was clearly a Giants fan. Yeah, I remember that. That was horrifying because that game came down to the absolute last second. If you guys forgot, Mason Crosby, the stars were aligned. This guy's at the end of his rope. You look at he signs with the Rams, doesn't get an opportunity, gets cut. And then he has a chance to potentially keep the Rams out of the playoffs, the team that cut him. And he shanked it so bad. But from where we were sitting, you can't tell until they're just like, because we're on the side. And Tyrod Taylor, the game he played in that one, I don't know why the Giants let him go. I'll be honest with you. I have no idea why they let him go. He's better than anybody that was under center this year for them.
Well, something to note, and I'm seeing this in the chat. So for everybody listening, we are doing this episode live. So there are people watching us. We have 360 people in here right now.
Yeah.
Listening to this live, which is awesome for us not announcing this on a Friday night. So big shout out to everybody watching right now. But I'm seeing some comments about the weather on Sunday. And so it is going to be cold. It is according to the chat, high of 27, low of 13. That is pretty
bundled
cold.
to the nines.
Yeah, it is going to be very cold. That obviously brings challenges, to a football team. The Rams have not yet played in cold weather this year. If they have, it has not been like this. This is like beyond cold.
This is the coldest game since 2022 against Green Bay on that primetime night with Baker.
Yeah. So that definitely will play a factor. And there's a lot of things, when the weather's cold that you got to look out for. So we'll talk about that. But Jake, kind of looking at this Jets team, obviously I think, when people think of the Jets right now, you think of Aaron Rodgers and kind of everything that he brings, right? And then you think of right now, you think of Woody Johnson, and everything. So like everything that the Jets have been in the news for has like been not really football related. So it'll be good for us to kind of talk about like the actual Jets team because I don't see any talk about the Jets that's football related. They're one of those teams right now that just between the owner and some of the players on the team, like nothing of actual football is getting discussed. So I think a lot of people that are probably listening to this are like, what do we actually need to look out for, when we play the Jets? So let's talk about the Jets. And let's start by talking about, kind of the guy leading the offense, Aaron Rodgers. Obviously had a very successful career in Green Bay, with a lot of fun to watch in his prime. Played on some very exciting Green Bay Packers teams. Then he gets traded, to the Jets. He kind of facilitates that trade. Things kind of go, south and Green Bay. He ends up being traded to the Jets. And first game of the season tears his Achilles, right? We all know it. We all watched it. Prime time, Monday Night Football. He goes out there, has a horrible injury, doesn't play, for the Jets that season. Now in his first true season kind of playing for the Jets, it's not going well. They've really struggled. They had some rough games, have had some games where they looked okay, but really, Jake, it's kind of surprising, between Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, and Devontae Adams. I don't know. What's your take? Because I have to be honest, I don't sit and watch a lot of Jets games. I've looked at the numbers to prepare for this, right? I know what the media talk is. I've seen some of them this season, but I'm not going out of my way to particularly sit down and watch this team. Have you watched a ton of the Jets? If so, what are your thoughts on them?
So watching ton of the Jets, no, but I've watched them enough to say Aaron Rodgers is playing the best football he's played all year. Now, obviously, they're coming off a win against a completely terrible, dreadful Jacksonville Jaguars team that, really I have no idea what to say. I mean, they've just been horrible. But Aaron Rodgers has thrown 6 touchdowns and only 1 pick, over the last, say, 4 or 5 games. And when you look at Rodgers, he's way more confident. He's got a great rapport that obviously doesn't go away because he threw to him for so long in Devontae Adams. And then you have a player in Garrett Wilson where you could throw to him any part of the field, and he's so good after the catch where he can make plays happen. He kind of almost kind of reminiscent to an Odell Beckham Jr., really dangerous when he gets in the open field and just has great vision and, great athleticism. So you have those guys. Then you have Breece Hall, who's been somewhat disappointing this year. He's also had issues with injuries. You have Tyron Smith, who goes down with an injury, their left tackle. So insert a guy that you and I talked about at nauseum during the draft process, Olu Fashanu, who just looks so good. And that is going to be a very key and critical matchup between Fashanu and Jared Verse. So we're going to see that on full display. They have some good role players, right? I don't think Braylon Allen is going to play in this game, but Alan Lazard is a guy that has good rapport with Rodgers from his days in Green Bay. And in addition to that, Tyler Conklin has developed a nice connection with Rodgers. On the defensive side, this is a team that, can force turnovers. They haven't been great, but they can force turnovers. They still got guys like Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, I think one of the best corner duos in the league. They are a little bit susceptible to getting beat over the top. Chuck Clark's given up 4 touchdowns this year. Their linebackers are quick. They can cut off, getting to the outside, bouncing those runs to the outside. But Alexis, this once dominant defense doesn't have the pass rush they had. They got rid of John Franklin Myers. They lost Bryce Huff. And then, of course, Hassan Reddick comes up, and he's just not playing at the level that they were expecting. So I think really the Jets have a lot of talent on paper, but a paper tiger isn't necessarily going to make it to the playoffs and win the Super Bowl. And that's why they're 4-10. They've lost 10 games, and they've been in 10 games where, it resulted in 1 possession. So I think, that's pretty much the summary for the Jets as of right now. Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers. He might not be as mobile as he used to be, might not be as accurate as he used to be, but if you give him time and you can't bring him down, he's still going to make you pay. He still has 2 elite wide receivers in Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. And if that run game is able to get going against the Rams, then he's got the play action attack and he could be as dangerous as anybody. So I understand he's over the hill. I get it. But there's also a reason why there are Jets fans clamoring to keep him around for next year. And it's because of the way he's playing as of late.
Well, yeah, I think that's definitely going to be something to watch between Aaron Rodgers and our secondary, right? We've had some shakeup in our secondary. We haven't really had a consistent secondary due to, a couple different reasons, particularly injury this season. Kobe Durant, it sounds like is going to come back. I don't know if he's going to be fully back. I don't know if they're, going to mix in, Kello with him and how they're going to do that, with his injury. Kello had a very good game last
I did hear
game. So
Kello's getting the nod. So I don't know if they rotate them, but Kello's going to start. That's what I do know.
So we'll see him, if Durant plays, he's going to be mixed in there, Quentin Lake, Cam Curl, Darius Williams. It's going to be very interesting to see, Rodgers match up with them, because I think Rodgers is probably going to target Darius Williams. Off the bat, I think that's been kind of, a weaker link. He has had some really good plays, but I think overall, we've needed to see a little bit more out of him. And knowing Aaron Rodgers, I think he's going to target some of the young and inexperienced guys in the secondary. And then you also have to think, you've got 2 very good receivers in Adams and Wilson, right? So you're going to have to cover them really hard, and it's going to be a task. So, I'm curious what the Rams decide to do there. I'm curious, who do they put Kello on, right? Do you put him on Adams? Probably. I think that's probably the matchup. I think then you try and, mix in some guys to cover Wilson, over there. You mentioned, Breece Hall, I think is going to be somebody to look out for. Braylon Allen probably, is not going to play. But to me, the story of this Jets offense going against the Rams is what is Adams able to do with what is Aaron able to do with Adams and Wilson, right? What does that look like? Because I think with kind of the secondary a little bit, haven't been super consistent. I think they're going to go. I think they're going to go with it. I think they're going to start off strong with the pass game, especially knowing that Braylon Allen is out, and so you've kind of just got, they've got a couple different options actually running back, but I think
like Isaiah Davis, but yeah.
Yeah, he was out of South Dakota State, right? Because
Yeah,
I think we covered him. Yeah, yeah.
we covered
Well,
him, and that was Blaine's guy. He said that he would take him over Zach Charbonnet, and oh man, did he get some blowback on draft Twitter? But yeah, I think. Well, you have to look out for Isaiah Davis too, because while the Jets are susceptible to getting absolutely decimated by the screen game, which I think the Rams started to really implement when their offense got healthy. We saw that against the Bills, a lot of wide receiver screens. When you look at the Jets side of things, like for the Rams, they get beat by the screen a lot. So Isaiah Davis has been kind of a big part of their kind of dump off game, and I think that could be a problem for the Rams if they're not ready for it. Is he blazing fast? No, but he could break arm tackles. He's strong. He's a good, natural hands receiver. He's sneaky. He finds his way into the end zone, and he might not touch the ball the whole game, and then they call him up in the fourth quarter, and he steps up. So the Jets aren't your typical 4-10 team at all. This is a team that I would say is better than their record. I understand you are what you are, and I get that, but this year, it's been tough. I mean, 10 one-possession games that they've lost this year, that means they're in a lot of games. And I understand they've gotten blown out by teams like the Cardinals, for instance, but the Rams don't blow teams out. So that's what I'll say there. And one thing to mention, Aaron Rodgers has had the majority of his sacks this year and pressures. They've been on the left tackle. And now that Fashionu's there, it just feels like he's playing way better than Tyron Smith played. I don't think people are really privy of that information, but yeah, that's how I feel. I think Fashionu kind of gave him a new lease, on life in the pocket, if you will. And I don't think it's necessarily just because the Jaguars are bad that the Jets scored, I think, the most points of their season last week.
maybe. Everyone in the chat. So everybody knows I'm a Notre Dame fan. And sorry, this is a sidebar, Jay, because I want to acknowledge what's happening right now that you're probably not aware of. So, well, you know that they're playing the college football playoff right now.
Yeah, I only know because she told me right before we went live.
Jeremiah Love just rushed. Jeremiah Love, Notre Dame's running back, one of the best in the country, by the way, just ran for a 98-yard touchdown. So
That's
everybody,
exciting.
My phone was lighting up, the chat, everybody's like, oh my God, I was like, I missed a Jeremiah Love. And by the way, Jake, I'm going to draw a comparison. I'm going to do it live here right now on the show. Because part of the lore of Downtown Rams, part of the lore, okay, so is that Kyron Williams' sophomore year, I said to Jake, there's this running back out in Notre Dame. His name is Kyron Williams. Here's his highlights. Watch out for him. I want him, right? Well, guess what? There's another running back out of St. Louis that goes to Notre Dame named Jeremiah Love, one of the best in the country, and he's insane, and he's a sophomore right now. So, Jake, I'm telling you the same thing. History is repeating itself. Check out Jeremiah Love. And everybody
Is he more
watching,
explosive?
I would say so. It's the longest run in program history. He just tied it. So that,
Okay.
but also Kyron had that run, remember? I wonder if it was that run that he just tied, but we won't get too sidetracked. But Jeremiah is like more of a dual role back, I would say. He's good.
Yeah.
He's very fun to watch. And 98 yards, I can't believe you all weren't lying when you were
blowing up your phone.
My spot. Okay, so let's get back to the show. Other than that moment, that sidebar, Jake, I think we're a little bit on the same page on the offense, it sounds. I mean, what I think the Jets are going to try to do. I think it's going to be a big game from Adams and potentially. I think they're going to try to have a big game for Adams and Wilson. I think they're going to do a lot in the passing game. We'll see. I expect
they got to get the run game going because both sides. I mean, we saw last year, cold weather game, December, MetLife Stadium. What did the Rams do? They pounded the rock with Kyron. And I think the Jets need to pound the rock with Breece Hall because I think you have to establish that early on. And if you run in between the guards in center, you might have a shot. I think Simpson, the way he's playing this year, he's done a really nice job at left tackle or left guard, John Simpson. Joe Tippmann, who we talked about in the draft, does a really nice job at center. And then Elijah Vera Tucker, who's back from his devastating injury last year, really good player, doing a really nice job at right guard. The issue is, I think Fashanu also can be a help on that side. The issue has been Morgan Moses in pass pro, but make no mistake about it. Like, I think you can run on this Rams defense. They've had their moments where they're able to shut teams down, but good running backs do well against this team. And Breece Hall, he's not having the best year, obviously, but to be fair here, he's been banged up. They've kind of been going back and forth with that whole Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, now throwing in Isaiah Davis. If they stick with Breece Hall and run the football and the Rams can't stop them, well, now they're moving the ball. Now they're killing the clock. Now they're controlling the game. They're tiring your defense. And in addition to that, they're unlocking an element to a methodical pass game, which is the play action pass. And that's why I do expect them to come out and try and pound the rock. If the Rams up front with Bobby Brown and Kobe Turner and Braden Fisk and all the other guys that'll likely fit in there, Ty Davis, Desjuan Johnson, we'll see like who ends up dressing for this game. But if those guys are able to step up front, it forces Aaron Rodgers to play backyard football. That's great for him sometimes, but when it doesn't go well, it's ugly. And we've seen that. So it should be interesting to see how they kind of attack this team, both on the offense and defensive side. Do you blitz him? What do you do here? I think Rodgers can really he's a veteran. So if you stay in zone, you're really just going to pick him apart. Rodgers is going to pick you apart. So there's that. But I think for the Rams, I would definitely start this game off by forcing Will McDonald, forcing Quinnen Williams, forcing Javon Kinlaw, forcing Michael Clemens, forcing the linebackers up front to stop Kyron Williams. Because if they can't, you have control of the game. So I think it goes on both sides, and I think both sides, with how cold it's going to be, are going to run the football.
Well, so let's touch on that now. Flipping sides, switching gears to the Rams offense. That's what I suspect they'll do. I do think that they're going to come out, try to pound the ball, against this Jets defense. We'll see if it's successful or not. I had a lot of people messaging me about the cold and, how in the cold running backs tend to fumble. I mean, it's a thing. And, obviously I know a lot of people are concerned about the fumble issue with Kyron, even though thankfully, it's been a few games. So I think that's something to watch out for. But again, I think players are prepared to play in cold weather. I think that you account for these risks. So I do think that the Rams are going to come out. They've shown to have complete faith in him since that. So I think that'll be game plan number one, and then if you can't get anything going against the run, obviously I think you start to get Puka Nacua involved a little bit more. Cooper Kupp. I think that we could potentially see a big game from Cooper Kupp. Obviously, on prime time, zeros across the stat sheet, right? People start talking about Cooper Kupp, especially people who don't watch the Rams, right? People are pissed. Oh, my fantasy playoff. Cooper Kupp just scored 0 points. I don't think that that's going to happen against the Jets. I don't want people to be obnoxious about it. I actually think Cooper Kupp is going to have a very good game. And in these cold games, a lot of times teams turn to veterans, right? It's they've been here before, they've done that. So we'll see. But I do suspect that the game plan for the Rams initially off the bat will probably be to run the ball a lot. And maybe we'll see more Blake Corum too. Every week, we've kind of jinxed it with Blake Corum. We've always been like, bet on a Blake Corum anytime touchdown. Lord knows I've done it for like 4 games straight. I'm going to do it again though. Because I think that
I'm done with that one. I'm not.
You've had it.
Yeah,
like, no, I've learned you've learned your lesson. I haven't.
Yeah, I'm tired of being wrong. I like to be right. And yeah.
Then what do you think about the score prediction? Now getting into that, what do you think What's
So
your right prediction?
so I went through and I found some details. First off, in the Sean McVay era, the Rams are 8-2 when going to the Northeast. Not bad, right? For a sunny California team that can't play in the cold. I hear that a lot this week. But is it true? Sean McVay is 1-4 in cold weather games that are below 35 degrees Fahrenheit. Interesting. Last and the only game he's won in a game colder than 35 degrees was the Denver Broncos game where Todd Gurley had over 200 rushing yards. So maybe that's what Kyron's going to do. Alexis would be like absolutely losing it. But all jokes aside, the two of the highest scoring games for the Rams, I'm talking about, their points have come at MetLife Stadium. 51, I was there. I was at both of them. 51 points against the Giants back in 2017. And then in 2021, when they won the Super Bowl that year, they won 38-11 to the Giants. You and I were there. They just absolutely smacked them. So those are two of the highest scoring games at MetLife Stadium. And then, they won a close game last year, 26-25. I think a lot of people are going to hold that against them. What I would say is while that game is something to keep in mind going into this one, what people need to understand is that Matthew Stafford has a horrible career box score, whatever you want to call it. His splits against Wink Martindale's defenses have been terrible. I don't know why. He just has his number. So Matthew Stafford might be facing a team that calls himself New York when they actually are in New Jersey. But what I will say is that Matthew Stafford is not going up against Wink Martindale. He's going up against Jeff Ulbricht, who's the interim head coach. That is not the same defense, not the same scheme, not the same type of thing that, he saw last year. In that game, Kyron toted the rock 20 times for 87 yards, 3 touchdowns. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw that again. Puka Nacua ran the ball twice for 19 yards. Puka Nacua caught the ball 5 times for 118. He had an 80-yard play. Demarcus Robinson caught 6 passes for 92. Tyler Higbee, yes, who's returning, by the way. Higbee caught 6 passes for 62 yards. Cooper Kupp caught 4 for 27 and found the end zone. I kind of feel like he's going to do that again. 7 catches, 70 yards, and a touchdown, I think. But I think he'll find the end zone. But Alexis, I think this is going to be a 31-24 game. I think the Jets might even take control at some point in the game. It is going to be a nail-biter. But I think the Rams pull away at the end. I almost gave away like a little thing there, so I'm not going to. But 31-24
It wouldn't be
is
an
what I got.
episode if you weren't like sneaking in one of your predictions in your score monologue.
Yeah, but like the Cooper
it.
Kupp 7 for 70 and a touchdown is not a bold prediction. That's just like, yeah.
Fair. So I'm on the same page. I think the Rams are going to win this one. I have 23-17.
Okay.
It's cold. I do think that the Jets are better than maybe their record is. That offense, especially if, Breece Hall plays, kind of how we know he can play. And, you've got Adams and Garrett Wilson are just great receivers and you've got Aaron Rodgers. So, I think it'll be close. I think that it's probably going to start off pretty ugly. I don't think that this is going to be, that exciting of a game. We'll see, but I think the Rams pull it off 23-17 and I think that it's going to be close. I think it's going to go back and forth. I think it's going to be fun to watch, and I think we're going to get our way at the end in terms of like, we're not going to watch a blowout. I think it is going to be pretty back and forth. But Jake, going into our bold predictions, now that we have established that we think the Rams are going to win, what are your 3 predictions for this Sunday?
So I think you'll like the third one I'm going to have, but all right, let's do this.
Your third one is probably my first one.
No, it's actually not, because I don't even think that you'll come up with it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the first one, it's written in the stars. I'm going to be there. Number 4, Akella Witherspoon is going to get an interception. It's going to happen. Yeah. So that's the first one. Second one, Tyler Higbee is going to be a factor in this game. I got him 5 catches, 62 yards, and a score. The last time Tyler Higbee went up against the Jets, 2020, he had a touchdown. He was their leading receiver that day and had a crazy spin move that we never saw before. And, he had a bunch of really key catches that brought them back in that game. They were down like 20-3 in that one. They lost 23-20. And then the third and final one, Kyron Williams will score the game-winning touchdown. It's going to be a 30-plus yard rushing touchdown to win the game.
Hey, we would all love to see it, so long as the Rams win. But yeah, I like all those predictions. Getting into my first one is I think Kyron Williams is going to have 2 touchdowns and 100 yards rushing. I think he's going to have a very good day. Again, we'll see. But that's my first one. Second one, I alluded to this earlier a little bit. I said Cooper Kupp, right? I know that everybody, who isn't a Rams fan is absolutely furious. Or either furious or kind of making fun of his Thursday Night Football stat line as if he didn't do so much else during the game that was important and valuable. So, I think Cooper Kupp is going to have a big day. I think he's going to have over 100 yards receiving. Defensive prediction. I think Jared Verse is going to have 2 sacks. I think he's going to get the better of that rookie-on-rookie matchup that we know he's going to have against Fashanu on Sunday. I don't know that he's going to get both of them against him particularly, but I think that Jared Verse is going to have a big game. So I don't know if any of those predictions were super bold, but yeah, I've got 2 Kyron Williams touchdowns, Cooper Kupp over 100 yards receiving, and 2 Jared Verse sacks. But the good news is regardless on if I get those right or wrong, we're both on the same page that the Rams are going to win.
They are. Oh, and it's not a bold one because he's just gotten to this point, but Puka Nacua is going over 100 yards. It's not bold. Like
we'd love to see it.
It's just not bold. Like I just assume even in games where he does nothing the whole game, he gets a 50-yard catch and now it's like, oh yeah, he had 90 something yards. It's like, yeah, that's Puka Nacua. He just always finds a way. So that's how I see that. But yeah, should be a fun game. I got a lot of respect for the Jets. I covered them for a year. I got a lot of respect for their fan base. I think they're great fans. They deserve better than Woody Johnson. Yes, I said Woody Johnson. He is holding that entire organization back. Incompetence at his finest.
It almost was like, it was one of those things where that report came out and I'm like, which parody account wrote this? And then it's like literal news. If you guys are listening didn't know, the Jets owner basically was making free agency decisions based on people's Madden ratings. And he was bringing his 15 and 17-year-old son into team meetings and taking their input on decisions. Woody Johnson has been that way, I think, just in whatever. Yeah. But to hear these specific reports about him was not surprising, but still disheartening. As a fan, you're just like,
I just feel bad for Jets fans. They deserve the world. They're amazing fans. They really are. There's going to be plenty of them at the game, and you're going to be like, why are you at the game? And they're 4-10. And what I would say is this, okay? Woody Johnson, at one point, way back when he joined the presidential cabinet, when you have fans hoping that your owner leaves to join the presidential cabinet so he's not the active owner, that's how you know the owner's not good. It's that simple.
Yeah, he is. And I know bad owners. I live in the city of Chicago. And, the Bears organization.
I thought of you. Did you see that meme? It's literally just hell. And it's and then on the bus or whatever, it's all this paraphernalia from the Bulls and the Bears and the White Sox and the Cubs.
Yeah, I know shitty owners, being in the city of Chicago. And I can confidently say that Woody Johnson fits the bill. I mean,
he's the worst owner in the NFL.
Yeah, I feel bad for their fans. But I hope that their fans do feel bad about a loss on Sunday.
Yes.
Even though I
Well,
hope that they,
that helps
you
them
know,
though, because then
it
they can
helps
get a
them
higher draft pick.
correct, and maybe they can start to turn things around over there. But guys, that's going to do it. Jake and I are predicting a Rams win. Appreciate everybody for tuning in.
Real
Uh,
quick, I
yeah,
have to highlight this because you'll get a kick out of this.
right.
A Peruvian shaman for their next head coach. Fun fact, I think that their next head coach is going to be Mike Vrabel. So, and that's who it should be.
Hey, yeah, that would make a lot of sense for them. But yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers and Woody Johnson have been in the news for all the reasons not football related, and I think the fans are just hearing that report about Woody Johnson, they're just like, are you for real right now? Like, this
And they're
is a
not even
joke.
surprised. That's the sad thing. Like, you
They're
notice how they reacted. No one is surprised. So, Rams, do not lose to a team with an owner who is literally deciding based on Madden ratings when, first off, the video game isn't any good. They don't know how to rate anybody. And it's also a video game.
well,
Please don't lose to this team. And
yeah,
by the way, Deb, I'm with you. If they lose this game, I'm banning myself from going to a Rams game. How about that?
yeah, if they lose this game, we know that Jake's to blame because
After
he was
having
at the
such a great track record,
yeah,
they're not
this
losing this
season.
game.
Well,
They're not.
I'm on the same page. But guys, as we're gonna let you guys go. It's Friday night. We appreciate everybody tuning in so last minute and late. If there's anybody that's going to be watching the college football playoff game, I'm going to turn it on, after this. Obviously, I'm a Notre Dame fan, so I want to watch that. They're up 14 to nothing, so hopefully they can keep this momentum going. But whatever you're doing on this Friday night, please stay safe. Um, you know, make good decisions, and we'll see you next week. I think we're going to be recording. Jake and I talked about, I think on the 26th will be the next time we're back because I'm traveling for Christmas. Jake's got Christmas stuff going on. So we know that you all are going to be enjoying
Yeah.
your holiday season. So whatever you're doing, I hope that you guys have a safe and fun holiday spent with those you love. We'll be back soon, but until then, stay safe, take care, and go Rams.